Since independence in 1962, Uganda's elections have been characterized with vote rigging, intimidation, and violent loss of lives. After the 1980 polls, the aggrieved parties took up arms to topple Milton Obote's government. As the clock ticks towards 2021 general elections, the attention is now set on whether the Electoral Commission can deliver a free and fair election. But with the Commission already complaining of insufficient funds to carry out the task, many are asking whether the credibility of the results is not at stake. Tonight on the spot, we host the Electoral Commission chairperson, Justice Simon Byabakama, to share more light on the roadmap to the 2021 general elections. Justice Simon Byabakama, thank you very much for having responded to our invitation. We are humbled and very grateful.
Thank you, Patrick.
A warm welcome to you, and you are on the spot, which means that Uganda is watching you tonight. And since you are the #1 person when it comes to elections, we are going to be keenly listening to you and also trying to, as much as possible, to get the questions directed to you. But to begin with, in a very fair manner, just give us the preparedness of the Electoral Commission as of today, moving to 2021.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers. First of all, I would like to commend NTV for having accepted to host me on this evening's program so that I have an opportunity to interact with the viewers and the people of Uganda at large. The Electoral Commission, as we did indicate when we rolled out the roadmap, is in a state of preparedness. The roadmap is ongoing. So far, we have conducted exercises on the ground connected or concerning reorganization of polling areas, of electoral areas, and as well as polling stations. Now, secondly, we have also concluded the update of the voters register. That is an opportunity that was accorded to citizens who are eligible to vote to register as voters, and also for those who wished to transfer their voting location to do so. Now we have embarked on the third phase, and that is the display of the National Voters Register, which started yesterday and is set to be concluded on the 10th of March this year. So we are going on well.
Today, I understand the Electoral Commission is having a financial deficit of over 518 billion Uganda shillings. You told Parliament that this money can only run you into nomination of candidates. Does this mean the 2021 general election is in balance of sorts?
Now, Patrick, the budgeting for a general election is a phased process. Now, we did budget for the general elections 2020-2021 in 3 phases of 3 financial years. Now, the Minister of Finance has been able to release to us funds to run the activities that we are running so far, but not necessarily all the funds that we require. We have been in discussions with them, and we have been promised that the available funds will be the necessary funds will be released to the Commission to enable us to carry on with the work. I want the people of Uganda to remember one thing, that the holding of the elections and the period of holding elections is a command of the Constitution. Article 61, Clause 2, commands that elections shall take place in the first 30 days of the remaining 122 days of the term of office of the President. So that is the command of the Constitution. And therefore, all government agencies, Minister of Finance inclusive, is enjoined to ensure that they give us the necessary funds to run that process. And I think the Minister of Finance is on record. He assured Parliament that the Minister of Finance will avail the Commission the required funds for that purpose.
But you've been requesting for a lot of money. You have also requested for 72 billion shillings to be able to relocate you to your headquarters because you're supposed to give way for the construction of the road. Your office is just right there in what people call a wetland, by where Ginger Road begins,
Yeah.
but yet you're supposed to move, and
Yes.
there's no time. And the road construction has even begun.
Yeah, that's true. It's unfortunate that some of the things which should have taken place earlier have not did not take place. For instance, the issue of the commission moving from its current premises was something that was mooted or discussed even before I became chairperson of the commission. And it so happens that now there is the pressure of the flyover project, which is also partly covering that area where we are now. And therefore the need to move becomes more urgent than before. So we have brought to the government the attention of government all these requirements. It's unfortunate that the requirement to move coincides with the budget for the general elections. But what do? These things.
You know, you have I can imagine, very delicate equipment there, and you want to move them almost in the middle of an election. Is the government and the Electoral Commission really serious?
No, we have.
Are you able to actually move now in the coming months?
No.
So is the road going to be halted?
What we have said, what we have done, we have been in discussions with the project consultants. We have been in discussions with the UNRWA. We have been in discussions with the Minister of Finance, and we have pointed out that the Electoral Commission is now at a critical stage of organizing the 2020-2021 general elections. And therefore, there is no likelihood of us being able to move now, this year, or even early next year. And I think that has been recognized and accepted as a plausible reason, and something is being worked out along those.
But I also understand, Justice Yawakama, that you are moving into a property that really is not designed to be headquarters of an electoral commission. Why did you decide to do that? Yet you know that your job is specific. It is handling equipment that is also delicate. Why just go and rent or buy a property that is may not be compatible with what you want to have? Why not even build?
I think in our discussions with the government, we have ruled out the option of renting, because as you have rightly pointed out, we have very delicate equipment which you cannot keep uprooting, installing, uprooting, and so on and so forth. So that has been recognized. And secondly, the issue of us moving into an already built structure or property is not really of our making. If time was permitting, I think it would be more appropriate for the Commission to design a structure that suits our needs.
Time permitting?
Well, there is no time, because you see, as I have said,
there's always been time.
Well,
I mean, the Electoral Commission is a government agency that is here forever.
Yes,
for as long as Uganda is here.
That is true.
So, I mean, even before you, there was somebody else. I'm thinking between you, the Electoral Commission, and the government of Uganda, really, you should be able to build an Electoral Commission headquarters designed for that particular work.
Well, I think it is probable that maybe government had other competing priorities which could not allow the Electoral Commission to be allotted the funds to build or to acquire already built premises. But be that as it may, one, I think government is committed to ensure that the Electoral Commission gets a home of its own, a proper home. As to whether that can be built, time, I do not see whether the time allows for that. You know.
So what Justice Simon Byabakama is confirming to us is that as of now, the Electoral Commission headquarters will stay on Ginger Road in that valley, and which also means that the flyover road that is being built from Entebbe Road towards Ginger Road somehow is going to be halted.
No, I don't think so. You remember they have started, well, I'm not really, I'm not so much.
At least that section where
I'm not conversant with the goings on of the project, but what I know, they have started with the other, phase one covers the other area. And in our discussions with the UNRWA and Minister of Finance, I think we brought that out clearly, and we were given some bit of leverage in the sense of first staying in where we are until we conclude this very critical national process.
Okay, let me leave that issue of brick and mortar and come to the real issues now that concern the elections.
Yes.
The Commission closed the exercise in December last year of voter registration, and there are people who are saying, look, there are Ugandans who are turning 18 almost of course, every day, ever since you closed, and they were going to miss so many people not to exercise their right to vote because you closed early. And other people are saying, why didn't you at least close at the 3 months towards the election or 5 months towards the election other than almost a year behind? Because that disenfranchises millions of people.
Yes, Patrick, it's true. We have we have received so many complaints and concerns in that regard from various stakeholders that the cutoff date that we set is going to leave out a number of voters who would be eligible to participate. Now, when the commission sits to draw a roadmap, we take into consideration various factors. And one of the things that we look at, one, is the nature of elections that we are going to conduct. This is a general election. Secondly, we look at all the activities that are involved in this electoral cycle before you come to polling day. An election is not a mere one-day event. It is an entire chain-linked process that leads to polling day. And you find, therefore, that the Commission, in order to properly plan, manage, and organize these elections, time is of critical essence. Time is of critical essence. And in our planning, we deemed it necessary to have that cutoff date as early as possible, primarily because, one, whereas people are only focusing on the general elections for presidential, parliamentary, local government, they are forgetting the other elections for what we call the special interest groups. These are the youth, the older persons, and persons with disabilities. Now, those elections start earlier. They come first. They come before the presidential and parliamentary. And because these elections come first, and they are at the grassroots, they start from the village level, and then they move upwards to parish level, sub-county level, district level. So you need to have your register ready. Up to national level. And the law says that before you do that, before you conduct these elections, you must display the register. You must display the register. Now, if you are going to have an open-ended registration process, you already have elections that are going to take place, national elections, for special interest groups at village level up to district level, and then they link up with the national elections for parliamentary, because remember, with the exception of the old people, the other groups have also representatives in parliament. They also elect their representatives in parliaments. That is the youth and the persons with disabilities. And therefore, for you to have them conduct or have elections at that national level, you must have started through their structured elections from the grassroots. Now, to be able to do that, you have to have a ready register. And secondly, for purposes of proper planning, if you are going to have an open-ended registration process, how do you plan? How many voters are you going to plan for? How many ballot papers are you going to print? How many polling stations are you going to set up? How many electoral officers are you going to recruit?
So I can imagine your commission members and yourself, sir, you have done a lot of benchmarking around the world, and there are countries that are able to bring the cutoff date near the election. How do they do it?
Well,
is it a niche of technology that perhaps you don't have?
You are right. Some countries are definitely advanced in technology. That is a given. There are some countries which are doing electronic voting. I'm told, like in Namibia, they're doing electronic voting. We have not yet gotten to that level. Now,
so your challenge is technology?
Well, technology, part of it, and other factors as well. But most importantly, one thing I want the people to appreciate, that for an election to be seen to be credible, free and fair, there must be certainty about some of these processes. If there is uncertainty, if something is indefinite, you open up the space for all kinds of insinuations and accusations and suspicions. That why is the register so fluid? How do we know that on the last day the Electoral Commission is going to put in towards the polling, the Electoral Commission is not going to put in people who are not eligible to vote? So to guard against all these insinuations and so on, you must create a cutoff process. And by the way, let me tell you, the cutoff is enshrined in the law. Section 19, subsection 7 of the Electoral Commission Act says the Electoral Commission shall create a cutoff date in the process of updating voters. Why? The people who framed this law envisaged that there must be a process which comes to an end for each of these things, and therefore,
Justice Byabakama, we are not we are not contesting that you don't have the powers to put a cut-off date. We are only saying, couldn't you have put it a little bit nearer to the election?
We looked at so many things. One, for example, now, if I can give you the statistics of what we have for in this coming election, we have an increment in virtually everything. Currently, we have 135 districts, 135 districts. Counties, 257. Constituencies, 296. Sub-counties, towns, municipality divisions, 2,062. Number of parishes, 10,029. Number of villages, 68,733. Polling stations, 34,344. Registered voters, 17,782,594. Now, the number of elective positions in the entire country is close to 1,500,000 elective positions. For you to be able, and remember all these elections are by secret ballot, you must prepare, you must have early nominations so that you will start the process of printing ballot papers. And mind you, the ballot papers for elections are not printed in Uganda. They are printed outside Uganda. Now, the processes of procurement, processes of printing, proofreading, packing, transportation of ferrying to the country, then to our warehouses, sorting them out, packing them to the minutest detail of a polling station.
You know what, the detail that I've picked that I think is shocking is to know that the elective position, you have a number of 1 million people plus in elective position for a country of 40 million people and a poor country to have 1 million elected leaders.
Do you know what?
That's a big burden.
Yes, do you know what brings that about? Because of the incremental in the number of administrative units. And the moment you create a parish, then you're talking of more councillors. The moment you split up a sub-county, you're talking of more councillors, and so on and so forth. And this starts from the ground root up to the national level. When you come to the women committees, those are even more complicated.
Yes, and that is not your concern, Honorable Justice Byabakama, but what I can maybe adduce from that is that it is very, negative. It impacts on the economy.
It does.
It impacts on the economy. To have over 1 million leaders.
Elections are very expensive in this country.
Okay. You also said, according to your calendar, you are supposed to have nomination of candidates in August for elections in January. And some people are saying, look, this period of campaigning is just too long. And for people to be in that campaign mood for almost 5-6 months, first of all, it has a negative impact on the economy, but also people may not work. And even those aspiring candidates will even leave their offices to go and start looking for votes in the villages. And that, why did you do that? Why didn't you put a shorter time so that we don't have to lose a lot of time into elections? There's also some work to do.
Well, we have also received concerns in that regard from various stakeholders that this period is so long. You are literally going to put the country in a gridlock of elections and the politicking. We are mindful of the concerns of our stakeholders, and I think the Commission is considering those concerns and petitions. We shall come up and inform the country what our position is on that matter.
So actually your roadmap is not the actual final roadmap as we have it today?
No, but what is the final? Even laws are amended. You say now this is a law, therefore it is a final. These are human things which can be varied as and when the circumstances require that it be done.
I remember during the Amama Mbabazi petition, court issued recommendations for electoral reforms, and but the real reforms, we have not seen them. My Lord, are you know more than this as a Justice of the High Court, that recommendations are actually a court order in some way. Yeah. And government seems to have, abrogated on this and acting with impunity, not to follow the court order of giving the electoral reforms, which could give you a process that can give us free and fair.
No, I think, Patrick, you have been following what is ongoing now. Yes, admittedly, there was some delay in initiating the process of bringing about those reforms. But as we talk now, the matter is before Parliament. I think the reforms are before Parliament. So we expect that.
Oh my God! You are talking about reforms before Parliament now when the roadmap is on.
Well, I'm giving you the facts.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because I just want to know, to hear your concern, because you are the head of the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
The court gave recommendations to government
Absolutely.
to initiate electoral reforms.
Yes.
And those recommendations are actually a court order.
Yes.
And government acting with impunity, they did not. And for you have issued the roadmap when the electoral reforms are in Parliament.
Well, I do not know.
When they're being debated in Parliament.
I do not.
So what happens if they do something that will not tally with your roadmap?
I do not know whether by delaying to initiate those reforms that tantamount to impunity. But what I know is that yes, there was some bit of delay. What is being done now, probably it could have been done much earlier.
So let me ask: when the court gives these recommendations,
yes,
are they just for government to pick or not, or?
No, a court order is a court order.
Yeah.
It has to be complied with.
Yes. So if government doesn't, what would I call it? That it has acted with impunity.
I don't know. That is, I don't know whether that is impunity or not. But the point I'm trying to make is this. Point I'm trying to make is this.
Contempt of court is perhaps the right word.
Yeah. If anyone has acted in contempt of court orders, you go to the relevant court to cite them for contempt. You go to the court. I don't know whether the petitioners did that. I do not know. But let's get back to the basics. If the reforms come out now, are they likely to impact on our work? Probably, depending on the nature of the reforms. If they have any aspect or element that touches on processes that we have already undertaken, definitely that will impact on our work. If they have any processes or elements concerning what we have already undertaken on the ground and elsewhere, that will definitely impact on our work. So I wouldn't like to go into a process of conjecture. Let us wait and see what the reforms will be like.
My Lord, why I'm bringing that is that when these recommendations are made in 2016,
yes,
and they are supposed to enable you
yep,
have a process that is free and fair,
absolutely,
that is credible,
yes,
and for almost 5 years nothing
yes,
is done,
yes,
then probably we can find ourselves back to the same court, we're having the same problem, and yet the same government refused to comply with the recommendations of court.
Well, for us as a commission, one thing I want to assure you is that even without those reforms, we have said it is our duty to make sure that we deliver a credible election for the people of Uganda. We have to do everything that we can in the circumstances to make sure that the election that we deliver is free and fair and credible. I'm not saying without prejudice to the need for those reforms as pointed out by the various stakeholders and by the Supreme Court. But we are saying in the circumstances, what can you do? It is like a chef. You have to prepare a meal for people. You would have desire to have this ingredient and so on and so forth, but you do not have them. You say, I'm not going to prepare a meal for the people. You do the best that you can with what you have or what is available.
You know, that's some of the reforms, Justice Biabakama, touch on the credibility of the institution you had. There are those who are challenging that its credibility. There are those who would say that the entire ecosystem of the electoral process is flawed, right from the appointment of your officers, including yourself with all respect, and the poor facilitation of the Electoral Commission, and also there's some kind of lack of public trust. So they maybe in their thinking was these reforms could bring trust, these reforms could change the composition of the Electoral Commission and how they are appointed into those offices, so that there's public trust and there's integrity.
I have heard,
and these things are because even if the election has issues on the polling day, the whole integrity of the process of the election is beginning maybe years back. If you have a problem 1 or 2, 3 years before, like in 2016, if they gave you recommendations and they're not followed, even Justice Simon Yabakama may prepare the election up to 2021 if the ingredients therein are not catered for well, then the whole system is compromised.
You see, I just want to say one thing, that yes, laws are good, all right, and they are necessary. But remember, the laws do not act by themselves. They are operationalized and implemented by human beings. You may have a very elaborate legal framework in place, but if the people who are supposed to implement those laws choose not to do so in an appropriate manner as required, what will be the essence of those laws? We have, for example, I've heard people say that Uganda has one of the most elaborate legal framework against corruption, but yet corruption is so ripe. Ask yourself why. We have a very elaborate legal framework, and yet everybody is saying corruption is so ripe in our society. So, in other words, it is the choice that people make on whether to comply with the law or not. And we are saying, granted, you are saying you want the commission to be appointed in a more, what should I call it? They want to call it a more transparent manner.
In a public manner, you should apply, and then
so on and so forth.
Interviews are held in public. That's what they. Well, those are the views of Uganda.
But even then,
even including the Citizens Compact, no, by the way,
fine,
which is a survey, the national survey.
But Patrick, this is my own view. How does that guarantee that now, because the chairperson or the commissioners of the commission have been subject to this rigorous, very open process, and therefore their product will be very credible? Is that it? Are they two synonymous? I think it is a question of choice. Are these people going to make a choice to act in accordance with the law, to act impartially, to act fairly or not? It's a question of choice. It's not a question that because the laws are now here and therefore this is it. But it's not a given.
With all respect, I don't understand the argument. Are you saying we shouldn't have good laws?
We should have good laws.
This is what we're asking for.
Yes, but
that's what we're asking for as a starting point.
I'm saying
then we can have good men and women in those offices.
I'm saying, if in the absence of those laws, what does it mean? Is it therefore a given? Is it therefore a foregone conclusion? Therefore, these elections are flawed, therefore? No. Please, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. I don't want the people of Uganda to take it that because these reforms have delayed and therefore the process, the election that is going to be conducted is a foregone matter, it is a flawed process. No. That will be insulting the people of Uganda and the efforts they are making to make sure the commission is funded. I want the people of Uganda to believe and to trust this commission. Just like we went out of our way and ensured that we held credible LC1 elections, which everybody had written off. So you cannot have credible elections.
But you know, research made countrywide, asking Ugandans on their perception about the Electoral Commission. Even long before you came into office, sir, you know, overwhelmingly showed that Ugandans do not have that trust in the integrity of the commission. And this is not because you are there or somebody else, but that's what has been the case.
The question is, when people form an opinion about you, what informs that opinion?
Your own behavior.
Thank you very much. I would want the people of Uganda to judge us by our conduct, by our performance, and by how we do things. And that's why we've gone out of our way, by the way, to engage with as many stakeholders as possible, to engage with as many Ugandans as possible. Right from the grassroots, we are the first commission to engage with the LC1 chairpersons at the grassroots, so that we open up to the people and show them this is what we do. Secondly, we roll out this roadmap early, and at every stage, at every phase, we inform the people, we engage with the people, we receive questions, we receive complaints, and so on and so forth, so that it is open. For instance, during the update last year, you recall, we had put a timeline or time frame within which to do the exercise. People said, no, Electoral Commission, please, where there are many challenges, the rains and so on and so on. Can you extend it? We extended. We are being receptive to the complaints and concerns of the people. Why? Because we want to be transparent. We want to give every Ugandan an opportunity to be part of this process. And mind you, the other day I was on Salt TV, and one of the chairpersons, LC1, was calling in. He said, Chairman, we want to thank you because you have involved us as chairpersons in this process of organizing elections, which is very good. We want the people of Uganda to own these processes. We want to open up everything. We don't want, to me, then the people will come up and say, yes, we are not yet satisfied on this one. And then we look at that matter they are raising and said, you know what, I think they have a point here. Then they come up at the final, at the end of it all and say, you are not trusted. Trust is a question of what is the product you are giving out. What are your fruits, in other words?
Justice Byabakama can hold on to your point because you're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest tonight is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Byabakama, and we're discussing the roadmap to 2021. My Lord, I understand voter education is very important, but there seems to be limited voter education in this whole process, and also, by the way, limited civic education, even though civic education is not under your mandate. Ugandans need to know about their right for democratic right, but also they need to understand the mandate of the people they are voting into those offices. So how do we get robust voter education?
Well, you see, as I said, an election is an expensive process. And voter education is one of the critical factors that determines citizens' engagement and embracing the whole process of an election. We appreciate that we have been having shortcomings in the area of voter education, but we have not been sitting on our laurels. We've been, we have introduced certain programs, for example, on radio. We have radio talk shows. Fortunately, Uganda is one of those free countries where you have virtually a radio in every village and every trading center and so on and so forth. So we utilize radio programs to reach out to the people in voter education. We've been going out to tertiary institutions, places of learning and places of work, for example, factories. Our teams have also been going to factories to meet with the workers. So we have not absolutely abandoned carrying out voter education. We have been carrying out voter education within the means available. And in a general election, one of the things that we budget for to a large extent is voter education, because we believe an informed citizenry, an informed electorate is very useful to the Electoral Commission and also to the candidates, so that they embrace the process, they do not make mistakes on the day of polling, and most importantly, we want the people of Uganda to own these elections, much as they are voting in leaders, but the people who determine what kind of leader is elected. And therefore, for us to have peace, stability and tranquility during an electoral process, it is very important for the people to be on board. And for that matter, voter education is very crucial. We are carrying it out.
Yeah, voter education to be effective, Justice Byabakama, we also need to have civic education,
Absolutely.
even though that's outside your mandate, because that will make people understand what the whole process is all about. They won't be easily deceived or duped because they will have been prepared. But civic education, I've not seen any civic education go on, even though that should be the Human Rights Commission's job.
Yeah, we do recognize those challenges, Patrick, as I've said, but I think there are endeavors that are being made in that regard to make sure that all these, the twin requirements of civic and voter education are carried out. By the way, I think the law also permits us to accredit certain organizations to carry out voter education. And we've already started receiving applications from various organizations, civil society organizations, which we are going to accredit after vetting them, and then they can go out and carry out voter education as well. Because it's very practical, it's very important.
There are people who are saying that it's a given that those who believe that as long as President Yoweri Museveni is on a ballot paper, in an electoral process that is we have now, head of this Electoral Commission, that anyway he will, at the end of the day, be declared winner.
Well, that is their
shine all right.
That is the opinion of those people. That's the opinion of those people. But my understanding is that, look, the people are mobilized, the voters are mobilized to go out and cast their votes. at a polling station where each and every candidate who has participated in the process is entitled to at least 2 agents at every polling station. One of the reasons why we close polling at 4 p.m., all factors being equal, is to enable the vote counting take place in broad daylight. And I have been to some of these polling stations, Patrick. I don't know whether you've been there. The way they count, they pour the materials in the ballot box down on a cavera. Then they start picking out one by one, and they open the ballot paper for everyone to see and to observe. It's not only the presiding officer by the who determines Kanuka Patrick,
Actually, here the people, the crowd reading the name.
They say, hey, Gundi, Gundi,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
You know, excitedly. It's very transparent and open. And then after that, the results are entered on the results transmission form, okay? DR form. The results declaration form, results declaration form. In the presence of the agents. Your agents are supposed to affix their signatures, confirming, yes, this is what we have witnessed as is the outcome from this polling station. Secondly, the agent for a candidate is entitled to a copy of the DR forms, a copy of that DR form from every polling station. If you, the candidate, posted your agents there, if you don't have agents there, do not blame anyone. The law allows you to have at least 2 agents per polling station, under your own means, not the means of the Electoral Commission. Then after that, you wait now. Let's wait to see what the returning officer is going to declare at the final tally center. Because, for example, now with the social media, if you get these results at this polling station, you post. You get here, you post. Your agent posts on your phone. This one posts on your phone. Now, you wait to see whether the returning officer is going to declare or to release the results from that tally center, which
whether will be any different
from
what you will announce.
So really, now, if one candidate gets the majority votes, what do you want the Electoral Commission to say? To say that because this man has been winning and therefore now we should change the results.
There is a perception, and with all respect to the people of Uganda, that majority may not be able to distinguish between the NRM political party and the state.
That is politics. I'm not a politician.
No, I'm not, but the political party that is fused into the state we gets all the advantages of using the state resources. You cannot say that's a political party. You have to say this party has fused into the state, so it is being disingenuous, and probably you look for a solution for such a problem. Because people may not distinguish between the NRM political party and the state.
What I know as far
in other words, you have an RDC, you may have a DISO, you may have a soldier, all of them campaigning for the NRM party.
The law is very clear. 2 things. One, on the issue of resources, what I know, the law provides that government shall facilitate political parties, those with the representation in the parliament. And the Minister of Finance has religiously been releasing that money through the Electoral Commission. I think it is 10 billion. That money is split according to the number of representation in the parliament by the parties. Those parties which are registered and are not represented in parliament, unfortunately, they don't get a cut of
So what do you do as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission?
So when you talk of resources, government resources being used by political parties, yes, it is in the law. Secondly, on the issue of what is the other issue that you raised, the second issue which I wanted to comment upon? Yes, but the DSOs, RDCs and so on involving politics. The law is very clear. Section 16 of the Political Parties and Organizations Act is very elaborate. It prohibits a member of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Uganda Police Force, the Uganda Prison Service, or a public officer, or a traditional or cultural leader, or a person employed in a company wholly owned by the government. They are prohibited from being founders, promoters, or members of a political party organization. They are prohibited from holding office in a political party organization. They are prohibited from speaking in public or publishing anything involving matters of a political party organization controversy. They are prohibited from engaging in canvassing support of a political party organization or of a candidate standing for a public election sponsored political party organization. B, or 2, any person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 24 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding. But you see, this is the point I've been making. The law can only be active, can only bite when the people choose to apply the law. If not, to remain on the statute books. So if, for example, thieves break into your house every night, you don't report to the police.
So
what do you want to report to them?
All what you have read is the ideal of how things should be and what public officials should not do. But when you go on the ground, when we go into the elections, they will actually be participating. Because there's a record to show, Justice Yabakama, that they have participated before.
Has anyone
that they have contravened this law?
Fine.
And but without any reprimand.
The question is, that's just the analogy I used of a thief who breaks into your home and you don't report to police. Has anyone come up to raise a complaint to the investigative agencies that this person is breaking the law and the agencies have not taken, the law has not taken course?
But you know, all these things, the recommendation of the court through the Mama Mbabazi's petition, actually were touching on how public officials should conduct themselves. Absolutely. These are the reforms that are supposed to happen, but they have not happened.
No, but it's already here. Which reform do you need here? It is already here. The point I'm making is that what we need to emphasize is how to apply this law. We need to sensitize our people. And that's what, by the way, that's what I do when I go out on stakeholder engagement. All across the country, right from Karamoja to wherever I go, I tell the people, I sensitize the people about for example, one of the things we're battling with in our elections is bribery. Bribery, for goodness sake, we have repeated elections on account of the victor of the person who went through being annulled because he or she is found to have bribed the voter. And by how much? 50,000. And the court announced that victory. We have to repeat the process at a cost of 500 million, 700 million. But you see, you have to start engaging with the people, because I'm told some of these voters are the ones who actually entice or force some of these candidates into give. So if you don't give us anything, we're not going to vote for you. So we are telling the people, if you are going to accept 1,000 shillings and it is proved in the courts of law that this person who won bribed voters 1,000, and then we repeat the process.
Those are results of lack of civic education and voter education.
Exactly. So then, what logic is this?
So the entire electoral process really begins 5 years before the actual election. So even if you have done your job so well, I mean, even if you're going to do your job in 2021 so well, if the whole system is flawed, if the ecosystem is compromised, 2021 may not be good.
But that's why, Patrick, I'm emphasizing that, you see, to have a credible election, for goodness sake, Patrick, it does not entirely depend on the Electoral Commission, the way it was composed, the way it was, but it depends also on the involvement, on the cooperation, involvement of the people of Uganda, and they say we are not going to allow bribery here because it is too costly on our economy.
When a political party of the government, of the incumbent government, is parasitic on the state resources in advancing its own political agenda, does that concern you?
I'm not aware of that.
You are not.
The law says who asserts must prove. I don't know. Let someone bring evidence to say here this political party is it parasiting? I don't know. But I have said what I know, which is a matter of fact and which is enshrined in the law. Any political party that is represented in Parliament is entitled to facilitation from government, and we do that facilitation. We know that.
Are we likely to avoid the 2016 ghosts? And this is what I mean. Immediately after the elections, Kampala metropolitan area was almost like a war zone. I remember 2016, you know, the city was under lockdown, military deployed everywhere. In fact, the winner is not celebrating. The one who is contesting the election is incarcerated. How do we avoid something like that?
Patrick, do you know what I pray for every day and what I desire? That this election will be devoid of those ghosts we are talking about, of people being on Wonkenke, or all of a sudden being faced with an uncertain scenario situation. Two, the economy slowing down, or business people opting not to omit or to slow down on whatever they want to invest in or whatever they want to do. People will become, generally, because you see, an election is not an end in itself, for goodness sake. There is more than an election that the people of Uganda are entitled to, that actually, to me, which benefits the people of Uganda. To me, what benefits the people of Uganda more directly is the day-to-day activities they go out to carry on in an atmosphere of peace and stability and tranquility, which enables them to do their things which are secure, to return home securely, with the exception of these criminal activities and so on. But to me, if I can deliver an election, if we can deliver an election which maintains peace and stability in this country, and an environment which allows our people to continue doing their activities, the small business people, the big business people, the big investors, all of us, our children to continue going to school, not schools being closed, and having an atmosphere of, yeah, this is how we should do things. To me, that is our quest, that is our desire. And that's why we are going out and appealing to the people of Uganda and saying, for goodness sake, let us not elections to disrupt the most critical things that concern us, that are to our benefit. And to me, the only way you can do that, and we have started doing that, we talk to the LOCs. For example, following the Arua fiasco, we started meeting with the LOC chairpersons, whoever we were going to have by elections. And we said, please, this is how we should do things. And the chairperson said, Chairman, we are not going to allow violence in these elections. And thanks be to God, after Arua, we have not had any other violence in any by-election because of engaging with the people.
I just want to hear you on this issue, because where we are going to go in 2021, how this country is going to be,
yes,
whether we are going to be at peace or maybe not at peace with ourselves,
yes,
in most cases will depend on what Justice Simon Byabakama's team will have done.
No.
Do you feel the weight on your shoulders of the stability and the peace and the continuity of our country dependent on the work that you're going to do?
I want to correct one thing. It is not dependent on Byabakama. It is dependent on how we, the people of Uganda who are involved in this process, conduct ourselves. It is dependent on how the candidates conduct themselves. What message are they sending out? What rhetoric is coming out of them? If you are going to use a language that incites the people, if you are going to use a language that shows the people that unless we win, then the point I'm making, Patrick, each one of us has a role to play. You are the captain anchoring the ship.
Fine, that is going to deliver us either into peace or something else. And I can imagine that weight is on your shoulder.
Let me give you one scenario.
I can imagine that weight is on your shoulder. About Uganda's continuity with peace and stability. That it is a big part you have to play.
I agree entirely. But let me give you one scenario. What if the Electoral Commission delivers materials at a polling station, and then some people come from somewhere, they come and cause chaos at that polling station, they grab the ballot paper, the box, just as it happened in Igang when we were having the by-elections for women of parliament in Igang, one of the far-off polling stations. Some people came to a polling station. There was only one unarmed polling constable, unarmed. They caused the chaos. They grabbed the ballot paper and went away with it. In Katakwi, I've forgotten the Toroma constituency, we had a by-election.
But you're mandated to secure the electoral materials. Wait a minute.
We had a by-election. There was a far-off polling station, I think near the lake shores, where one of the candidates, I'm told, gave the youth waragi at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they caused chaos at that polling station. That's why I say the success of a credible election does not entirely rest on the Electoral Commission. It rests with all of us Ugandans, with every stakeholder, with every active participant in these processes. Because the Electoral Commission can do a very good job, put everything in order. But then, if there are those with other ulterior motives, they will come and disrupt the process. And you very well know, once the results at a certain polling station or the processes at certain polling stations are interfered with, and therefore the results of that polling station become incredible, we cannot declare those results.
So is this the reason why when you appeared before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, you supported a proposal by government in the electoral reforms for security agencies engaged in the monitoring of elections to vote earlier than the rest of the country?
Well, that one was informed by the fact that, look, security officers are also citizens. they too have a right to vote, albeit that they are security officers. And secondly, we pointed out that we all know during an election, security is an integral aspect of an election, particularly in Uganda today. Now, the security officers, therefore, who are deployed on that day, do not have the opportunity to vote. Why should we disenfranchise these so many Ugandans who are also citizens, who have a right to vote? Why can't they also vote? In other countries, they do it earlier. They do it earlier. That's why we're saying, even for us, by the way, election officers, we also don't vote because we are busy on that day. So this is one of the issues we're raising to the committee and said, why don't we allow these people to vote earlier? We're waiting to see what they will say about that one.
And tell us about the consultation, because today it's not clear whether Robert Kyagulanyi will be allowed to start his consultations. And you had a meeting with all aspirants.
By then,
yeah,
so they have increased the number since then.
I know. The aspirants are many and increasing every day.
Yeah.
But when you met them, what did you agree upon?
Well, first of all, when we met, not only Honorable Kyagulanyi, but also three other aspirants by then, with the police, the first thing we emphasized was the need for either side to observe the law. All of us, not only either side, even the Electoral Commission, to observe the law. The law says any presidential aspirant is at liberty to go and consult with the people across the country. But in doing so, you must follow certain benchmarks. A consultation is not the same as a campaign. All right? A campaign for presidential elections will only take place after nomination. Once you have been duly nominated, then you can now embark on your campaign proper. Now, we pointed out this. So we noticed that I think there was mistrust between Honorable Kyagulanyi and probably the police. And our task as Electoral Commission was to build bridges between these two groups. And they came to a mutual, to an understanding that from then on, they will continue, they will have constant engagements with one another, constant communication, because one of the issues Kyagulanyi was complaining about was that when he communicates with the police, they do not respond, but he only gets to see them on the day when he said he was going to do something. They come and so we said, no, I think the law enjoins the police to respond to a request by somebody that I'm going to carry out this activity. So we said, one, observe the law, but most importantly, we said we are all Ugandans in this beautiful country called Uganda. Is there anything too hard that we cannot work out that can create an atmosphere of togetherness and tranquility, other than causing this high, tension and the mayhem and the violence and disruption of the lives of other Ugandans who are not part of these processes? So I say that. But in some cases,
the organs of state are to blame for this kind of violence.
Yeah, but they can be called to order, and you have seen those individual officers who have committed acts that are not in consonance with the law. I think the agencies have dealt with them, haven't they? You have seen that, Patrick? Yeah. So, but the most important thing, in my view, is that what is it that we want as Ugandans? Do we cherish this peace that we have, which other people from other countries are running to drink from, this well of peace? Do we cherish it or do we don't? If we do, what can we do together to safeguard it, to promote it?
I wonder what is your role at the level of consultations?
Yes.
Do you, when candidates are going to consult,
yeah.
What is the Electoral Commission's role there?
Because
I'm asking that because I want to know whether what maybe Robert Kyagulanyi did wrong when he was consulting his people in his own constituency that police could not allow.
One thing, the law is very clear. It says, whoever wants to consult, you introduce yourself to the commission, and also inform the police and the local leaders of the area where you're going to consult from. Okay? Now, our role as the Electoral Commission is merely to guide the aspirants on what consultation means. What is consultation? If you go in a convoy of vehicles with the motorcycle outriders and so on, or border cheering on, you close off the road to other road users. You are waving to all and sundry. Is that consultation? Is that the meaning of consultation? The ordinary meaning of consultation. To our understanding, consultation means an environment of that promotes exchange of views and ideas. And that the environment can only be in a secluded place where you're seated.
So you want to limit the, is the law limiting on the number they have to, of people who should come?
No, we are not limiting. We are only pointing out that consultation entails this. The number is not the issue, because you can, if you want to consult 100 people, it's up to you. 1,000 people, it is up to you.
So why should, I shouldn't wave, because if I bring them in Nambola.
When you are waving on the road, is that consulting? How are you consulting? Is that exchange of views? Waving? And secondly, shouldn't you be mindful that I'm not the only road user? There are other Ugandans, or even non-Ugandans who are in this country, who are also entitled to use this road, who are going about their businesses. Maybe somebody is being rushed to hospital. Shouldn't be you mindful of that? We have said be mindful. If you love your country.
So people can converge at a place.
Yes.
In whatever numbers they
Yes.
So if somebody wanted to meet 1 million people, he can meet them.
Well, if that place is capable of handling those people.
That
yes,
should be
but provided.
The issue is that there shouldn't be a procession.
And the other thing, there should be a procession along the road. That's not consultation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But there wasn't a procession. What I saw that was...
Honorable Kyagulanyi actually said, okay, Mr. Chairman, okay, we are not going to have any more public processions along the road. He acknowledged. He conceded. Said, okay, we are not going to have, after we had explained.
But now, if his supporters and people want to consult, walk to the venue in their big numbers.
But how do you expect people to move to a venue? They have to walk there or to move in a vehicle.
So,
but what we are saying, and these are the things that we said should be worked out with the police.
Yeah,
we said, work out all these modalities with the police.
Because that's going to be very difficult. You may stop him from procession, but he may attract very big crowds, and they will proceed to the venue, and that will be understood to mean a procession which is outlawed.
I think...
How is it going to be handled? Because it looks like these consultations are dead on arrival.
No, they are not dead on arrival. They are not dead on arrival. I don't think so.
Because if you're not limiting the numbers...
I have said, Patrick...
People will go to Duhaga SS playground.
Yes.
And they'll walk there in big numbers.
Yes.
And police, they're coming from all the corners of Buhimba, of Haguzi and whatever.
If people are walking along the road, is that a procession? I thought a procession is a group of people who are moving in a coordinated manner, who are doing certain acts along the road, waving, hooting, doing what, and so on. Because what is the rationale? You are going for consultation at venue A. What is the rationale of standing in your open roof and then you're waving, then you're doing what? We said, look, when I'm coming to, when you are going for a meeting, do you go in that manner? You're going for a meeting. You go in a tranquil manner, then you meet after all the people you are going to consult are at the venue. Are they along the road?
There's one thing I've observed with the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, that sometimes he may not even call the people. He may just appear. You make that Honorable Member of Parliament appear in a town anywhere and give him 10 minutes.
Yes.
And that town will be full of people.
Yes.
So what does he do?
I think
because those are things, he may not even have to call them. Well, word will just appear, somebody will take a picture on phone and share it and say, Bobby Wine is here, is in Kalongo.
You see,
within 10 minutes, Kalongo is full of people.
You see, in my view, I think it all depends on how we manage all these processes. How do we manage all these processes? How do we manage them? Are we encouraging them or are we trying to stifle them? I think that's the most important thing. What is my objective? My objective is to go to venue X, where I agreed to go and meet the people whom I've invited for those consultations. So that should be the primary factor.
All right, Justice Simon Byabakama, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'll open the lines so that you too can be a part of this discussion. You're going to see the numbers on the screen. Please call us and be precise and concise. And should you disagree with the Justice Byabakama, you can disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Byabakama, and we're discussing the roadmap to 2021. This is the moment when you can be part of this discussion. You're going to see the numbers on the screen. Please call us and tell us what you think about the preparedness, in your view, of the Electoral Commission in conducting the elections that are coming just a couple of months ahead. Whenever we finish an election, our economy goes into a depression. In 2011, we saw the prices of goods skyrocketing. But let me first take a caller, because we could be having a different view. I have a call online. Hello. Hello.
Hello, I'm called Livingston Akugizibwe.
Livingston,
and I'm a district councillor calling in from Kagadi.
Akugizibwe, you're on air, sir.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Akugizibwe.
Livingston Akugizibwe, I'm a district councillor calling in from Kagadi.
Okay.
My question is that why is it that the Electoral Commission has not tried to advertise more, to put advertisements on radios, TVs, on the youth elections? Because most of the youth are not, they don't know about the youth elections. So it's as if it is favoring a certain group of people who just come in and fill those positions. So they have not popularized it to the youth deep down. Then the second thing, let Electoral Commission be independent, just like it is called, just Independent Electoral Commission. Because now I'm saying Justice Jawaka, I'm trying to explain what the police is supposed to explain. Because now when Robert Chagulanyi comes into to Electoral Commission seeking to consult, you as Electoral Commission you own him. You own him. You giving him a go ahead to consult. That means you own him. You're supposed to come up when you see police is trying to block him. Because now he's your product. As in, you own him. You're supposed to come out and defend whatever is trying to hinder him. You've already given him clarity.
Okay.
You now own him, so you must give him. Okay,
Mr. Akugizibwe, our caller in Kagadi, thank you very much. I'm going to take another call online so that we can, after that, can continue with the discussion. Probably maybe respond to him and then we can get to that.
Yeah, first of all, on the youth elections, thank you, Mr. Akugizibwe. When we were during phase 2 of our roadmap, when we were updating voters, one of the activities we undertook was to also update the youth register. So that's one. Now, secondly, on the issue of informing the youth, if no radio announcements have been made already, or talk shows have taken place already concerning these elections, I'm going to find out from Mr. Akugizibwe, and please you get in touch with my office. My number is 0772 340 847 or Bubu 0718 990 727. And we'll make sure that we publicize these elections, because they are not for the Electoral Commission. They are for the people of Uganda, the youth, the elderly, everybody. So the people need to know about these processes. Now, on the issue of Bobby Wine, let me make one clarification. An aspirant is a mere aspirant. When you look at the law, the Electoral Commission does not own the aspirant. The Electoral Commission does not control the aspirant. The Electoral Commission does not supervise the aspirant. The only thing we do is to guide that, look, when you are carrying out consultations, guide. What you are required to do, what you are not supposed to do is ABCD. Because why? There is a temptation when you are consulting for you to actually carry out a campaign. And yet campaigns can only take place after you have been nominated. For us, the people whom we own and whom we control and supervise are people who have been nominated and they have become candidates. That's when we say you have to work out a campaign program with your colleagues, and the times for campaigns are from 7 o'clock to 6 p.m. Don't go beyond that time. When someone is a candidate, then he is our product. And that's why when one is, for example, those who are going to, those who become presidential candidates, the Electoral Commission is required to avail security for them. A security vehicle, for example, a pickup with the escorts and so on. That is the role of the commission, because these are our people. these are our products, and therefore we must control them, we must manage them.
You engage them at the level of being on nomination.
Nomination.
Immediately after nomination.
After nomination.
But I think they're wondering at the level of giving them a letter to consult.
No, we do actually. If
because I'm told that
if you look at this letter, we do not even say you are permitted. If you look at this law, rather, the law does not say the Electoral Commission then shall permit. It just says an aspirant may consult in preparation for his or her nomination as presidential candidate. Now, while consulting, the aspirant shall introduce himself or herself to the commission. Just introduce yourself to the commission. There is another provision that says, and then the commission shall do this to the aspirant. No. What we have come out to do, because you remember, you are consulting on a process that the Electoral Commission is organizing. Presidential elections.
Yeah, but
so therefore we come up to say...
The wording there that the aspirant shall, which and shall is an order.
Yes, but shall is introduce.
Yeah.
But to do what?
That
introduce.
Means that's a must.
That yes.
You must
introduce yourself.
Yeah.
But on there's no provision that says then the Electoral Commission shall. No. But what we have come up to do, we have said, look, we are in charge of the process for which people are going to consult, isn't it? Therefore, we need to guide the people and say, look, the meaning of consultation is this. And we also want to appeal to the people because, look, we do not want to have a scenario, a situation where, look, mere consultations, then you have all this mayhem, you have all this chaos, you have all this what taking place, then the people of Uganda will say, is this where we are heading to? When it comes to campaign now, what will happen? So that's why we have to come in and make sure that all the stakeholders work in tandem with the law. And not only the law, for goodness sake, work in recognition that this is our country and whatever we do should not endanger the lives, the properties, and the businesses, the activities of our people. That's why we came
because the businesses have already been disrupted.
Absolutely.
The investors in this country, especially in the areas of tourism, will tell you in 5 years for them, they work only 3. 1 year before the election, the business goes down. 1 year after the election, still the business is not okay. Because
if I had
now, for those who are into the tourism sector, somehow they are skeptical. Should we continue? Should we not?
The best I can do now is to appeal to all these caliber of investors and people engaging in economic activities that please, an election does not mean an end or a disruption of these processes. You, the political actors, you, the aspirants, you, the candidates, the people who will be nominated and become candidates, can you please remember that there are certain salient factors or matters that are of grave importance to this country that should not be subjugated to an electoral process. And that is the continuity of economic activities that people are engaged in, because that's the lifeline of this country. Now, the other day, there was Minister of Finance who was saying URI is not able to collect enough revenue. Question is why? Why do we want to disrupt that process? So I think, to me, if we all are talking in and moving in one direction to have a stable, tranquil, peaceful country, I'm telling you, Patrick, would iron out all these things.
Okay, one of the issues that keeps coming up during the presidential election is that, public or government media is not used equitably between the presidential candidates. Yeah. And sometimes the presidential candidate can reach a media house owned by government and they are even chased. I wonder what, this time around, the Electoral Commission headed by you is prepared to do to make sure that there's a level playing ground. Well,
I think that is one of the reforms that is in the offing. That is one of the reforms in the offing. But secondly, we're also engaging with the public media houses like UBC and so on. But how many are they now? How many public media houses do we have? The private ones are too many. I mean, they are the majority, rather. They are the majority. So we are engaging with UBC, and we are trying to implore them, please, can we respect what the Supreme Court said, that you should accord all candidates an equal opportunity whenever possible. And I think that when we engage with them, they were saying they had their own reasons. UBC, they said we do accord all these candidates equal opportunity, but some candidates, what they say, they fail what to do, what something. But we are engaging with all media houses, just like we're engaging with the private media houses. Because one of the things we're saying that, look, the media can make the situation better or worse, can make the environment charged or cool. So that's why we find the media as a very key stakeholder in all our processes of organizing these elections. And
maybe one of the last questions as we come toward the conclusion of our show, the issue of money into the election that ends up, because I started asking you that question before a caller came in. And before you know it, maybe there's inflation and the economy is messed up after the election. Yeah. How do we ensure that does not happen? Our economy remains intact.
To be honest, as I've said, and I want to reiterate, that all depends on us, Ugandans, who are part and parcel of contributing to this economy. What is it that we want? Do we want a process that leads to a disruption in the economy? Do we want a process that disrupts peace and tranquility? Do we want a process that disrupts the day-to-day activities that people do? Do we want a process that disrupts our children who are going to school? When they are going to school, and then they find this road, there is chaos on the road, and then the police is trying to disperse some rowdy groups or something, then tear gas is being fired. Is that what we want? So to me, the choice is ours as Ugandans. What is our choice? And I want to appeal to every Ugandan. Let us choose to have a tranquil process. I want to assure you, the Commission is committed to remain impartial, to be impartial, to ensure that whatever we deliver is credible, transparent. And that's what we call on everybody. Come and see what we are doing. This is what we are doing now. Even the parking. We invite people to come to the warehouse and witness the parking of these materials. We invite people to go and receive them where they are being taken. You are even free to escort them, provided you don't disrupt, to know whether this truck which is carrying these materials is going to divert Patrick's home and offload certain items. Transparency. So in my view,
you know, you're heading an institution that just 5 years ago could not transport electoral materials from Ginger Road to within Kampala here. So you know, that's the background. And that's the image.
Yes, that happened. It was very unfortunate, and I want to assure the people of Kampala that we are taking steps to ensure it does not happen again.
Justice Simon Byabakama, what's going to be your concluding remark on the show tonight?
Well, Michael, first of all, I want to thank the people of Uganda for having embraced the programs that the Electoral Commission rolls out in the roadmap. We have been encouraged by the wide enthusiasm, the enthusiasm that the people have revealed. We want to continue appealing to the people that for whatever processes that are coming forth, please let us remain a united country. Let us know we live in a very beautiful country with this, which is so much endowed that if we can just focus on utilizing these potentials, I can assure you this country will be up there in the skies.
Thank you very much. The chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission of Uganda, Justice Simon Byabakama, we thank you very much for your time, and all of you have been a part of this discussion, that you have listened to things. I think we should take the words he's just said in conclusion. We have one country called Uganda, and it is in our, our responsibility to keep it at peace. We can go and vote, and then tomorrow we'll do our things so that we can continue doing our work, because it is important we keep Uganda at peace. Good night, and God bless Uganda.